Hi folks, this is International Master Kostya Kavutskiy, and today I'll be doing a video on the Desperado tactic. This is quite a well-known tactic that can lead to some very fun variations. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, I'll just show a basic example here before moving on to more complicated and more interesting variations. So the basic idea of a Desperado sacrifice is when multiple pieces in the position are hanging for you and for your opponent, and you're trying to get and win as much material as possible, usually through a Desperado sacrifice where you temporarily sacrifice one of your pieces in order to gain more material in the end. In this position here, we have a pretty simple example of this. Both queens are under attack. White's queen is hit by the bishop and black's queen is hit by a rook. So if we take on c6, black will play bishop takes d4, and we've simply traded queens. But since white is to move in this position, he can first give up his queen on g7 with check. Black is forced to take, and now when we win black's queen, white has netted a bishop in the process and has won a lot of material. This is the basic idea of the Desperado. If it was black's turn in this position, black could do the exact same thing by playing queen takes c1 check. White would have to take back, and then black could win the queen, and black would have won a full rook in the process. So this is a very nice tactic. It's very, very important, especially in complex positions where lots of pieces are hanging. And what I want to do now is show you guys a bit more unusual variations and circumstances and talk a little bit about how to help structure your thinking when trying to calculate and sort all of these variations out. Our next example here is actually quite a well-known position. You'll probably see this game in lots of different tactics books and databases. Here it is black to play, and you're trying to find the best move. I would encourage you guys, if you haven't seen this position before, to pause the video and try to work your way through the different variations. And I'll give you a chance to do that now, and otherwise we'll move on with the solution. So here there's a ton of things going on in the position. Black has this pawn on g2, which presumably captured a knight on f3, captured the pawn on g2. Meanwhile, white's pawn from d5 took black's knight on c6 and now has taken on d7 with check, and it is up to black to figure out how to recapture this pawn. Now, a normal recapture like bishop takes d7, white would play bishop takes g2, and material is equal and nothing dramatic has happened. Instead, black has a very, very nice way to win material here, and that is the move knight takes d7. Moving the pinned knight to take the pawn and opening up this bishop and queen to basically attack each other, and what black has done here has created a winning double attack. Now if white takes on g2, black will simply take the bishop on g5, and black is up a piece. And if white takes the queen on d8, well, black takes the rook on h1, promotes to a queen, and has won a decisive amount of material. Black will now be up a full rook here as soon as white saves the bishop. So this is kind of a variation on the Desperado sacrifice. It's not exactly the same as the previous one, but we can kind of see the idea here is that this very unexpected move turns out to concretely be very good for black and win material. The only advice I can really give for this position is when you have a complicated position, you really want to investigate all of your options very carefully. A lot of players would not even consider this move, knight takes d7, because they know that the knight is pinned and cannot move anywhere unless you're giving a check. If you can break this assumption while you're calculating, a lot of times this allows you to find very unexpected and creative resources. So let's move to the next puzzle. Here we have black to play and win once again. If you'd like to try your hand at this position, please pause the video and try to find the best move. Okay, so here it's quite a complicated position at first. It seems like black can simply take the queen on c6, but then we notice that the rook on d8 is hanging and this is a checkmate on the board. So what can black do? Because white is starting now to play rook takes d7 and simply win the game. Well, black has a temporary sacrifice with queen takes g2. We can call this a Desperado as well as a decoy, dragging white's king to g2, and now after bishop takes c6, we've won the queen back, and we've pinned white's rook to the king, and white is losing a decisive amount of material here. So very, very nice puzzle here. Another variation of the kind of Desperado sacrifice, where you really need to be calculating very accurately and really searching for those candidate moves in order to be successful in puzzles like these. As you can tell by all the puzzles so far, the Desperado sacrifice is going to be very, very unexpected and very creative moves. So you really need to be working hard on these puzzles if you wish to be successful. If you're finding these completely, let's say, mind-blowing or extraordinary, it's probably a sign that you should be working on a lot of puzzles that require, let's say, imagination or creativity with unexpected resources, because these do come up in your games from time to time, and the more likely you are to be able to find accurate tactical resources, the more likely you are to be successful in your games. With that, let's move on to our final exercise. Here we've got white to play, and if you like, you can pause the video and look for the best move. The only thing I would say is that things are not as simple as they may seem. Now, the solution here requires us to do some retroactive thinking. If you'll notice here, it seems like white is able to just capture the rook on f4. This rook is simply hanging. So, of course, the puzzle is not a one-move capture queen takes rook. Black must have something here, right? Things look too good to be true. Well, indeed, black has a way to win back his material, starting with queen takes d1 check. White is forced to take back, and after knight e2 check, black has won back his rook and is going to win back the queen next move. So queen takes f4 actually does not win the game for white. So what can white do? Well, once you notice the reason why queen takes f4 isn't working, then you can look for candidate moves and try to figure out the solution. Aha, so the right move is bishop takes h7 check. Now what's the point? Well, the point is white is connecting his rooks so that in the same variation, after white plays queen takes f4, so king takes h7 is more or less forced, queen takes f4. Now if black plays queen takes d1, of course white takes back with the rook, and the e2 square is covered by our knight, and so this doesn't work for black, and they shouldn't sacrifice the queen in the first place. So this trick with bishop takes h7 ends up winning white an exchange and a pawn, which is quite a nice material achievement. How do you find this kind of research in the game? Well, it requires you to be very conscious in your calculation. You notice the reason why queen takes f4 doesn't work, and then you look for a way to improve using tempo. Of course, if white played a move like bishop to d3, then black would just have a chance to save the rook and white wouldn't win anything. So bishop takes h7, it's very important this move comes with tempo. This is the quote-unquote Desperado sacrifice. And after king takes h7, queen takes f4, black does not have a way to win back the material. So as you can tell from these exercises, the Desperado can show up in a number of different ways, but usually involves some kind of temporary sacrifice in order to win back the material under favorable circumstances. With that, I wish you the best of luck in solving the exercises. Some of them may be quite challenging for you guys. And I would encourage you, if you're struggling with them, set them up on a physical chessboard, really spend some time and focus, and try to work through all of your options accurately. Alright, until next time, this was International Master Kostya Kavutskiy. Take care.